Hello, this is Stephen Knight from Classroom Adventures, and today I'm just going to show you a little video about how the Salamis Tablet may have worked. Now, if you've never heard of the Salamis Tablet, it's the oldest abacus ever to have been found. It's from Greece, in the island of Salamis. That's where it gets its name. There were most certainly abacuses or abaci being used much earlier by people like the Babylonians, but this is the oldest abacus that we've ever discovered. Now, the actual Salamis tablet is a huge lump of marble. It's about 1.5 meters long, 75 centimeters wide, and about 4.5 centimeters thick. So it's not something you're going to carry around with you. It's something that people would come to use to do their accountancy. So the Salamis tablet proper had this section in the middle and making up a big part of it, or like a central feature of it, but around that it also had Attic numerals that look like they would have had a very definite purpose as well, and then also there was a smaller version of this inverted upside down at the top. I say upside down because at the top there's this little semicircle, and so upside down the two semicircles are kind of looking at each other. Now, no one really knows for certain how this thing was used, but a few clever people have had a good go at coming up with some ideas. And the general consensus is that it was a place value calculator. You have your lines here representing the powers of 10. So we have our ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, and so on and so forth. But then you have this line down the middle, and that's something that's very different from any abacus that I've ever used or looked at. And the consensus is that this was a negative and a positive side, and that's going to be really interesting when we come to work with this in a bit. Now, in order to use this, you need some counters, and we're going to use these little things. They're called calculi of the ancient Romans, and I'll leave your imagination to run and work out what sort of words we might get from that. But little pebbles. Now, I've written down some here, and we're going to show you how this works and see if we can come up with answers and see if we can make it work out. Now, we have our ones, tens, hundreds, so on and so forth, but we've also got a big space in the middle which we're going to use to represent the fives. This is good because this means we don't have to have 10 or 9 beads before we have to move along to another one, because we're going to use lots of stones and it could get a bit messy, a bit confusing and prone to mistakes. So what we're going to do is we're going to place 1 in the middle for fives. So a good way of thinking about it is that it's either, if you place 1 in the middle of the lines, that represents half of the line above, or it represents 5 of the line below, or both, whichever way is easiest to think about it. So let's start our calculation. We're going to start by putting this number here on our Salamis tablet. So we have got 1,976. So ones, tens, hundreds, thousands. We have 1,000 there. Going to pop that on that side. 1,900. So we're going to put that in the middle to represent 500, because it's half of the value above, or worth 5 on the line below. So we've got 500, 600, 700, 800, 900. Then we have 76. So that is 50, 60, and 70. Then we have 6. So that's 5 and 6. Now, that seems nice and easy. Let's try adding our next number, which is 1,213. So we've got a 1,000 there. I'm going to just push these up a little bit to give us room to put 100 and 200 on the end there. Then we need 13, so that's 110 and 3 ones. 1, 2, 3. Now we can do a little bit of tidying up here. So we don't want any more than 4 pebbles on a line and no more than 1 in the middle. So this all checks out because we've got 50, 60, 70, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So 9's fine. Got 50, 60, 70, 80 there. But here we've got 6 pebbles, and that's not going to check out. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 away, whoops, but the 5th one, we're going to move up here to represent 5s. But now we have 2 5s, so we're going to take away 1, 2 of those to represent 1/10 or above that. So we had a 500 or 2 500s, that's obviously equivalent to 1,000. So there's our answer. We've got 3,189. You can check my maths if you like, but I'm pretty sure that is going to be right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add our last part here, which is 562. So we're going to take some pebbles, and then we're going to put them onto this side, be our negative side or subtracting side. So we have 500 and we have 62. So that is 50, 60, 1 and 2. 500, 50, 60, 2. Nice and easy. Now this is where it's quite handy having freedom to move pebbles around the board, because you can operate it in any way you see fit, really, or anything's really easy. But it's the way that you use numbers changes the way that you see numbers and changes the way that you approach mathematics. So every different counting system, every different type of abacus makes you think about numbers in a slightly different way. So here we have negatives and positives. We've got -2, but negatives and positives, they cancel each other out. So -2 and +2 equate to 0. So we can get rid of those. -1, +1, again, equate to 0. Same with, or tens rather, we've got a -50 and a +50. They negate each other, they count to 0. But here, we've got a negative number that we need to sort out here. So the easiest thing to do is we're going to pick up a pebble, and we're going to swap 110 or 1,000. I'm working in 5s and 10s really on each line, but we've got swapping out 1,000 for 2 500s. Now, a wonderful thing about doing using the abacus like this is if you can count up to 10, then it doesn't really matter where you're doing your maths. You could be working in millions. The process is exactly the same. So it's a very nice and easy way to approach arithmetic. So anyway, we've swapped 1,000 for 2 500s, and then we've got then a -500 and a +500 cancelling each other out. So the answer that we're left with is from 1,976 plus 1,213 minus 562 is 2,620. So 2,627. Check my maths, and if you think that was interesting, give me a thumbs up.